Where are we going with these transportation costs? And should it be good for 18 and 19-year-olds to drive 18-wheeler rigs? That and much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
Well, I'm excited today. My guest is Jim Grundy of Sisu Energy here in Fort Worth, a large multi-million-dollar company that takes care of us by transporting oil, sand, and other products in the oil and gas industry. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Jim, what a business you have. You guys are going over 100 drivers a day on the road for Sisu Energy.
Right.
Tell me about Sisu and what you guys got going on over there.
Man, we started this company back, the wife actually nudged me to do it. Back in September of 2019, we did our first load October 2nd. Our platform was pretty sweet. It attracted owner-operators from around the industry that were out there that are isolated or with no leverage or buying power. So what we identified in being that, you know, we had a black book and a history in the industry, and people know who we are. When we opened the doors, there was a strong attraction of folks that wanted to join us. And then when we started, you know, getting returns and garnering the amount of revenue we started doing for our fleet, we didn't need to recruit anymore. Now it's folks are lined up trying to get in our doors and you know, get a part of that 20,000 a week number that everybody's getting right now with us.
I'm sorry, you said you're getting your drivers 20,000 a week?
Our top guys do 25, you know, and we don't like to say, hey, you're going to guarantee to make 20. You're going to make what you want to make. 80% of our fleet's doing over $15,000 a week. Our top guys do 25, and we're talking about our top 10 percenters. The top 20, 25 are doing about 20 grand a week.
Wow, that is amazing. And you said you got truck drivers or people lined up to go to work for you right now?
Yeah, folks from outside the industry even that are acquiring trucks or folks that are buying blowers or going out and getting certifications and training, moving to Texas. We've had a lot of folks from Jersey, New York, Oregon relocate for us already. And Utah is a hotbed for us right now. People just... they want to change their life, and they're willing to train, and they're willing to do what it takes to be a part of something unique, and what I think is probably once in at least next 20-year lifetime opportunity. As we know, the oil and gas, you know, it can be violent up and violent down. Right now, we're in one of those swings where it's an opportunity.
Well, you know, you say you've got people lined up ready to come to work for you. One of the hot topics in, you know, the oil and gas industry and other places is we can't find workers.
Yeah.
You know, as an industry whole, as far as transportation goes, do you see that we're still having this shortage of drivers right now?
Yeah, but it's not so much personnel. Right now, it's equipment. People can't find tractors. They can't find parts. The infrastructure isn't there. A lot of our tractors are coming from overseas. Parts are being made overseas. We have drivers that are waiting up 2 to 3 months for a single part. And so you're still seeing some of the supply chain global issues wreaking havoc within oil and gas and the driver supply, the tractor supply. And but we are short truckers in oil and gas specifically. It's an aging workforce. It's a workforce that's approaching 60 years old average. And there's not a lot of things on the federal level that are promoting these opportunities when some of these guys are making more than hedge fund over in Wall Street. Right? They're making $500,000 a year. Well, why are we not pushing more 20-year-olds over to this platform? And it's just weird, you know. But and tongue in cheek, I've got a master's degree, but I'll put myself through school and it worked out, but it doesn't work for everybody. And a lot of people come out of school with $250,000 debt, making $50,000 job, and they're putting their hands in the air saying, what now? Meanwhile, there's truckers working for Sisu that are doing $500,000 a year, and they're sitting there with 3 and 4 and 5 trucks wearing overalls, and people look at them and they judge them, and it's a walking millionaire. And that's the reality. It's just right now is a fantastic opportunity to get in.
Well, you say that most of your, the average work age is 60 years old. Mm-hmm. And then you said, why are we not pushing the younger generation into this? That leads me into one of the hot topics right now, which is 18-year-olds driving big rig trucks, 19-year-olds. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think the federal government is trying to make a push for this right now. Is that correct?
It's a terrible idea. Okay. Awful idea. Now, when we're talking about the younger generation, we're talking about folks that are in their mid-20s. Insurance companies dictate who can run for you, right? It's not a matter of, hey, we have a really mature 21-year-old, let's give him a shot. Insurance companies won't insure you if you're under 25. And they had years and years of analysis and experience, and that's why they set that number at 25. People under 25 they don't have the experience behind the wheel to navigate some of these big cities or more critical situations. And we're not talking about a matter of severe injuries. We're talking about life and death. An 80,000-pound truck hits a family because he's doing something he shouldn't be doing in the cab of his truck. It's over, right? So I'm absolutely against. If you want to do something to get people interested in trucking, you get some major companies out there that have got some reduced tax rates. Why don't we do the same thing for truckers? They're away from home. The risk is all on them. If they get in any accident, they get sued and they lose because they're commercial. So why don't we just reduce the tax rate for all truckers in the U.S. for a period of time? And let's get people in the industry. Money speaks volumes. It's not an age problem. It's a government right now intervention with DOT, FMCSA. There's so many rules and regulations. Now to get your CDL, they made it even harder to get a CDL, right? But insurance companies are meddling, you have federal government meddling, and the answer isn't 18-year-olds. The answer is maybe an 18% tax instead of, 36% tax is what some of these guys are paying taxes, up to 40%, depending on how much they're generating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's capital gains tax right there at 35%.
Think about it. Your corporate income tax, plus they got that's their K1s, plus they got to pay their personal income, adds up to about 36 to 40%.
That is a big chunk of change right there for anyone.
And the risk is on them, and they're not home. And we just think about the truckers, and we don't look at it that way. These guys are businesses. They're driving businesses, and they do all the hard work. We've seen what happens in an economy when you don't have truckers. What happens to the prices, right? So why don't we put some value on them? Why don't we appreciate them and do something to incentivize them to want to join this industry? It's not 18-year-olds though.
Well, you talk about you trying to get people into the industry. Yep. Here we have this shortage of truck drivers right now as a whole. What is Sisu doing? I mean, you guys, obviously, y'all are blowing and going. You got 100 drivers on the road a day. What's the Permian looking like for you guys? What's if y'all are going up to North Dakota for work? What are y'all doing on that end right now?
Right now, the Permian's a darling. Always has been. Except we're seeing South Texas really start to take off here in Q1, where it felt like 2021 was dormant a little bit. We're hearing activity, we see the activity, but there's not a cluster of activity yet out in the Utica plays, but we're being asked to go to the Northeast. The Bakken is always an option, but we haven't got back to those pre-2014 days when the Bakken was exploding, Colorado was doing incredible things, and Oklahoma was just rearing its head. You're seeing more, a little bit more Southeast Texas, Louisiana, which is really interesting. But for us right now, we're following the herd, and so we linger more to West Texas, South Texas. I'm fairly positive we're the biggest in both regions now. If we're not, whatever. But there's plenty of work to be had for everybody, and you got to keep your eye on some of these other plays that that I think are coming next. And I think the Bakken is an interesting one, but I really think the Utica is about to explode out of Ohio.
Well, I mean, they have so much natural gas out there. And I think with the way the oil prices are, natural gas, which cleans burns cleaner and produces, just as much gas for our vehicles. I can definitely see that being a big play here in the next few years, especially as we continue to have this administration that we have right now.
Yeah. I think you're going to see U.S. become, big LNG exporters. I think that's the next big move for U.S. and it should be, right? We have the manpower, we have the technology. We just need a little bit of foresight here, and it's there.
We definitely need a little bit of foresight, probably an administration that will actually say, hey, drill, baby, drill, and let's go do this. You talk about tax incentives for the trucking industry. I think that's something that we need to get our investors out there in the world a better tax incentive to go invest in oil and gas and new drills to help that supply, create more of a supply today so that we don't have to have all this demand, and hopefully in 6-8 months maybe we can actually see a real dip in the price of crude, and have America once again become an independent, but more importantly oil secure for the future, because that's definitely not where we are right now.
Well, if you think about how much oil we buy, 7% of all of our oil comes from Russia, and you think about how much money that is, 55 million barrels a year we purchase from Russia. Okay, look at the current oil price, and you guys can do the math on that. Yeah. If we took that same money and we put it into oil and gas and energy exploration that the government gave companies here in the U.S. and allowed us to create sustainable energies and cleaner energies, because there's not a single company that I've ever met in oil and gas that is trying to destroy the earth. Matter of fact, they do just the opposite. Right. We do the exploration and the perforations, and all the folks surrounding that are using all types of unique items to extract it as clean as possible. But the harsh reality is that we're a petroleum-based world. You have to have these products. We don't even have the infrastructure to support an electric grid now. Look what happened last year in Texas. Yep. One cold spell, and we produced more energy in Texas than any state in the U.S., and we couldn't handle it, right? Right. So when we talk about this wind and solar and electricity and all that is wonderful, it's not binary. It's not either or. There's I think an collective approach that we can all responsibly look at this and say that, hey, we need petroleum-based products. We also can continue developing alternative energies. That's smart, right? But you have right now this administration that is being ran by the Green Party. Yep. There is no doubt about that. There's not a lot of common sense to it. We'd rather fund a war against Ukraine than to put people back to work here in the States and open the pipelines up. And we could generate 85 million barrels of oil with that pipeline and eliminate our need for Russia. Why are we even involved with these guys? They weren't bad in the last 30 days. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so weird to us.
It's the biggest conundrum. I tell people that this administration on day one, on January 20th, 2021, waged war against American oil. And it has not helped. Since that day, the price has only continued to go up. Yep. We don't have the workers. We're not getting the workers. And the economy is still not, it's not doing any good at all. I mean, let's be honest. We got inflation at almost 8% now. And then touching on the fact that, when you drill, here in America, there are so many rules for the environment that we have to follow that we got to make sure that Mother Earth only continues to be green, because that's what gives us the oil. That's what gives us everything is Mother Earth. I mean, who are we kidding? And then you have the Green Party over here that wants us to flip the switch. And it's like, guys, we don't have a sustainable energy to go. Maybe 20 years, maybe 50 years.
Maybe 50 years.
We'll have a commercially productive, sustainable green energy.
Sure.
But today, it's not going to be there. No. And getting, the transportation, that is so much important to us, And right now with the price of a gasoline here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area averaging right under $4, what do you see happening as far as transportation goes there at Sisu? Do you think the cost of is only going to continue to go up here for a while, or do you think we're finally hit a plateau?
No, we haven't got to our summer blends yet. right? And everyone knows traditionally, if you look at just gasoline prices, they go up anywhere from 10 to 20% for summer. We're getting into those blends now. We're starting to create those. Refineries are still haven't caught up from the pandemic shutdowns. We still have supply chain global issues, and you're in the middle of a war, right? Whether we want to say that or not, there's a war going on right now, of which one of our suppliers has disruptions, and it's going to disrupt our flows as well. I think you're going to see gasoline double from its current price, potentially oil prices near 180 to 200 a barrel. That's what we think is going on our side. And there's not 100,000 truckers coming out to work tomorrow. You're still going to have a supply chain problem. You're still going to have substantial inflation, because when people realize the amount of products that are petroleum based, what this is going to do for goods across the board. But this is a macroeconomic lesson on this is what happens when you have no leverage and you make deals with parties and people and platforms that don't have your best interest in mind. That's what we've done with outsourcing our energy needs.
You know, when you see the Green Party, that small group in the Democratic Party that's sitting there going, we need to switch over to a green energy today. I love it when they're holding their phone and a water bottle, and it's like, okay, both of those take some form of a petroleum product to make. It's like, come on, guys.
And they're driving off in one of those brand new 2022 Escalades. Right?
Yes.
Beautiful. Hey, I love Escalades. They're beautiful.
No, they're nice. Don't get me wrong. I know my wife would like one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you know, the other day, the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg just told, hey, if you're unhappy with gas prices, go buy a Tesla. And last time I checked, aren't those $50,000-$60,000 cars?
Yeah, they could. I think they're pushing 70 to 90 now. The demand is, with everything else has gone up.
So I guess what, every average American could just go right now and go pick one up?
According to Pete. Yeah, it's a good deal.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
But, you know, with transportation costs going up,
sure.
Okay, what are you guys doing over there to you know, help out your customers, you know, get the best price? Because I know for us at Pecos, right now, you know, my transportation costs have gone up, and I understand that, hey, you know, gasoline has gone up, oil has gone up for the trucks that bring out my sand or bring out, you know, my pipe or whatever it is. What are you guys doing over there? Do y'all have technology, or y'all, you know, what is it that you guys are doing to really try to combat these high prices right now?
Yeah, and I think we're below market average on actually our rates. They think, hey, big Sisu Energy is doing all this. That's not what's happening. What we are is we're an IT company, right?
I'm sorry, wait, I thought y'all were a transportation company.
We are an IT company. I tell people that. I can manage assets using our technologies better than most people can, right?
Right.
And that's not a challenge. It's not being competitive. It's just a fact. We can manage about 60 trucks per dispatcher with our technologies. Most companies average between 15 to 17 trucks per dispatcher. So what I'm looking at is, what is our footprint? How do we utilize technology? And then we just rolled out a new app that we designed that is, I think, innovative in a manner that, when you think about what applications do with companies, it's inward out. I have something that I want to tell you or offer you, and the consumers get the information from the company. What we just did is created a driver-based application where they initiate all conversation. They can sit there and say, hey, I'm ready for a load. I'm about to deliver. And what this does is this pushes information provides more transparency. It gives them all the tools they have for all their financials, and allows them to set goals, and it paces them for the month and for the week. And I think it's kind of one of a kind. So what we're doing is we're embracing technology, we're embracing innovation. I think we've answered the bell that during the pandemic, we were running that at rates that most companies would be like, well, we can't make money at that. Not only were we making money, we were flourishing at it. Right. So right now we're able to do those same things. And where, you know, a company at 15 or 20 trucks is, you know, I got to make all my money on this one load. Right. That's not us. We're just the opposite. We can actually make just a tiny bit for every load, but because we're doing so many loads a day, we're able to stay healthy, stay clean, and keep everybody working. And the drivers understand that it's more of a synergistic approach, right? The sum of the whole is bigger than the individual parts. But you throw in a really good IT applications on top of what we're doing, and we've been able to optimize literally A company that's going to do probably, you know, a substantial amount of money this year, and we have 15 employees, 16 employees.
Wow.
That manages all. We're talking about safety. Our safety platform's incredible. To our accounting, to dispatch, to compliance, we have it all.
Now, as far as when you have it all, what services are you providing? And I'd like to, so you can tell all our viewers and listeners is like, hey, what services are you providing out to the Permian, to South Texas, so that somebody can be like, hey, I want Sisu to come do my work.
We're the old haulers, man. We're the bottom of the barrel guys. No, but bentonite, barite, salt, lime, even a little bit of cement here and there. But we also coordinate wells, and I think that's where things get really interesting for us, depending on who you're using to store sand on site or how you're doing it. We use it, you know, just-in-time delivery approaches. The old school method was, hey, I want to look out there on a lease road and see my 50 trucks stacked up. Yeah. But what we're doing is saying, hey, here's what we'll do. We're going to show you something different. We've got algorithms that are timing exactly. It's a pull method. As we have a truck that empties, boom, there's a truck to replace that empty truck. And so you're constant perpetual motion, but we have people on site that are also giving direct feedback if the company man or they're seeing something or they're seeing pressure and we need to pull it back. We have all those people in the field and in the office that are constant communication. And you throw that, like I said, with technology and a group of drivers, really in a fleet, it comes down to those guys that are dedicated. They see what we're doing, they believe in it, right? Are we the highest? Are we the highest per load? No, but per day, we'll smoke anybody, right? Because our guys can get 4, 5, and 6 loads. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing now is a lot of companies saying, hey, can you secure me a day rate? Because you guys are getting so many turns and your fleet is so optimized. You might have 90 loads delivered to one well, and you might see 90 different drivers on that well. The old school way is I'm going to put 20 guys on it. We're going to go back and forth like drones, but that's not optimal. Yeah. Our focus is to eliminate empty miles, build this web, this network, and we have so many wells we're doing that on. Our drivers can touch more loaded miles a day. They can get the money they need, and we can lower costs for our customers.
So you're basically optimizing and creating such a beautiful flow that just allows you guys to be as
efficient with utilization. Yeah, absolutely. I can do more with 400 loaded miles. You know, a guy gets really not 400 loaded miles. They get about 400 miles a day, right? The goal is, all right, traditionally it's 200 loaded miles, 200 empty miles. Yeah. Let's look at the equation of how do we eliminate empty miles, the waste. How do we reduce that cost? We got to figure out a way, and these small companies can't compete because they have maybe half of one well. They get to go back and forth all day.
Right.
Whereas all of a sudden, we're running 11 wells in South Texas today. Wow. Out in West, we're on 9 wells in West Texas, and they're different basins. They have different challenges, and sometimes you do have an outlier where you have to isolate or dedicate capacity. But in a perfect world, all of our drivers understand, hey, it's just perpetual motion. It's nonstop, synergistic approach, and we don't look at it, hey, we have one job. We look at the entire region as one job, and all the loads are built, and it works.
Well, Jim, I know that you are an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You started Sisu from the ground up with a team, I'm sure. I mean, with us, it's a family thing at Pecos Country Energy. Nobody did it alone. But in your journey and all your adventures, give me the crude truth. What is one hard fact that you've had to learn just being an entrepreneur in all this time?
I think you have to partner with the right people externally. You need to take a risk. You need to jump. Once you feel strong about what it is you're doing and you feel you've become an expert at a field, which you'll never be an expert, right? We say that. Yeah. We're always learning. There's always something. But when you feel like, hey, I can minimize my risk with my knowledge that I have, and you jump in, you need to really utilize those partnerships and relationships that I've developed since 2007. People that I've networked all the way back when I was going through grad school. And then, today, that level of trust, there's nothing can replace tenure and trust with someone you've known for years. Right. If I walk in today and said, hey, I want to run sand for you, well, who am I? But when we know each other and you know what I can do for you. And so our biggest asset outside of our incredible people and our drivers, our processes and platforms really is what we have. If we say we're going to do something, we do it.
Yeah.
We're a trustworthy company. We're safe. You can look at our safer scores. We're, if not the safest, one of the safest, in the oil and gas space. But people, I think they undermine the skill of networking and how important that is, and you need relationships to make it in this industry. And even from real news PR here in the studio that we're in to having a fantastic attorney in the background. Yeah. Those things matter. Don't chinch. Don't do it. Yeah. It's going to bite you in one way or the other, right? I remember in the early days of starting this is our second company, and trying to shave pennies in the very beginning because, you're on a budget and you want to make sure this thing takes off and give yourself the biggest chance to survive. And it always rears its head. What you took a shortcut on in the very beginning, every time comes back and it'll bite you, right? So I would just tell folks to trust your plan. If you got if there's something out there that you're passionate about, and I'm not passionate as much trucking as I am a lot about asset utilization and taking a legacy industry for the most part that is just now seeing a huge influx of IT and being a part of that, being a part of the solution of how do we extract more oil and how do we use less trucks and how do we leave a less footprint while at the same time meeting the needs of an economy that requires petroleum-based products.
As far as trucking goes, do you see, obviously they now have these new apps and things like you have, trucking is getting more technology based than ever before. And I guess that's what's helping you guys be as efficient as y'all are.
Yeah, but the efficiency is out of necessity. I think margins have been beaten down so low with 2015 to 2017, and we saw a little increase, and then what we just went to in 2020. I think these lean Six Sigma models that you read about and you hear about, and very popular, especially in Asian countries, are being adopted more so here. And so I think the natural costs of everything have gone up, and companies have to innovate to stay competitive. The companies don't go out of business because they're making money. Companies go out of business because they're not making money. And as basic as that sounds, the reality is they failed to innovate. They failed to identify a platform or a process that can keep them competitive, right? And so in this industry we're in now, right, trucking companies making 5 to 8% is really good. We double that. We laugh at it. Like, okay.
And you'll still have some of the best rates for your customers in town, correct?
Absolutely, we have to. But that's the advantage, right? And it's like it's not all these things matter, and you put them all together and you mix it up, and what do you have? You have Sisu Energy on our side. That doesn't mean we're for everyone's palate, but it just depends on what you're trying to achieve, and that's what's also unique. We're not a, hey, this is what we offer, and it's got to fit what you do. You show us what you have. Tell us what you're trying to achieve, whether it's lowering costs or being more efficient or whatever, and we'll take a look at it. More times than not, what's funny is we say no. We don't think you're a fit for what we're trying to do right now. So, it's just one of those things where you got to have like-minded vision on both sides to achieve something really cool. And I think we have the employees, the staff, and right now our customers get it. They understand, like, hey, I don't see the trucks on the lease road, but then all of a sudden, every 13 minutes there's one pulling in, and they understand that. Like, it is that like clockwork.
Like clockwork.
Yeah.
Well, with this, we've talked about this administration, about how they're not friendly with oil and gas. We know that gas prices are high right now. Oil and natural gas prices are high. Where do you see the transportation costs for things getting from point A to point B? And do you think there's a percentage on how much higher you think we might be able to go, or are we going to stay somewhat, just where we are over the next, because you mentioned the summer blends, but it's like, are we going to see higher prices for even longer than this administration? Now,
I play on the stock market. If I knew the exact answer to that, I'd make a lot of money on that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but think about the last time we saw $4 a gallon. You remember when that was?
That was what, 415, correct?
Who was president?
President Obama.
Okay, so under Obama, we saw the highest gas previous to what you all just experienced in the last week, which is the highest gasoline ever. There's a trend here.
There is.
That's a called correlation, right? Happens one more time, we have a streak.
Yeah.
Right? I think that was Bull Durham. But think about that, though. And who's paying for it?
The American people.
American people are paying for it. We're not paying for it. We have fuel surcharges, and we have rates that take that, and we have an industry that understands, like, hey, there's some things going on. We have to adjust together. So the consumers pay for it. Yeah. And at some point, folks need to take a step back, start thinking with your wallets, right? Stop listening to these anecdotes around election time, talking about green this and green that. Dive into what the energy companies now are doing, because we are green. When's the last time we heard of contamination here on U.S. soil?
Yep.
When's your water tables? Is there methane coming out of your faucets? Come on. That's all nonsense, but that's a fear they'll do because they're trying to sell energy that is 10 to 20 times more expensive than what petroleum-based products are. It's insane, right? But here we are selling it. Now we're fighting it. Now everybody's paying for it, and they're just like, oh, it's Exxon, it's Shell. It's not. It's your administration. It's politics. They've weaponized energy, and that's the worst thing you can possibly do.
If that's not the crude truth, I don't know what is. I can tell you that, Jim. Thank you so much. Jim, let me ask you this. Okay, you have a great track record. You have great customers. But if you want to add some more customers or get some other great drivers, where can they find you?
Yeah, go to our website, SisuEnergyLLC.com. It's SISU EnergyLLC.com. Call us 817-717-1616. You can go to YouTube channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a really good social media team out there doing those things. And I don't do it. They do it. I just missed technology growing up, but we're out there. Just Google us. We're all over the place.
And it's what, follow the pack or come be part of the pack?
Join the pack.
Join the pack.
Yeah.
Join the pack at Sisu Energy. Well, again, guys, my guest today was Jim Grundy with Sisu Energy. One more time there. And be ready for the next episode. Thank you all very much. See you again next time.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.